A fighter jet without fuel is just an expensive sculpture. That sounds like a simple idea, but it might be the single most important fact in the next Pacific War. The world watches stealth jets, missiles, and aircraft carriers. Those machines get the headlines, they get the dramatic photos, but none of them move an inch without fuel. On April 9th, 2026, on a quiet airfield in the Philippines, the United States Army quietly proved how seriously it takes that problem. On the surface, it looked like routine military housekeeping. Soldiers parked some fuel trucks. They pumped gas into fighter jets. Nothing about it screamed history in the making. In fact, the U.S. Army did not publish the story until June 18th, 2026, more than 2 months after it happened, releasing it quietly through its own official channels rather than as breaking news. But look closer, and this small event at Basa Air Base tells a much bigger story. It is a story about distance, vulnerability, and a war that nobody wants, but everybody is preparing for. Every April, the United States and the Philippines run a military exercise called Cope Thunder. It started back in 1976, moved to Alaska for 3 decades, and returned to the Philippines in 2023. This year's version, Cope Thunder 26-1, ran from April 6 to April 17, 2026, bringing together roughly 2,800 American and Filipino personnel.
On behalf of Pacific Air Forces and the Hawaii Air National Guard, it is an honor to join you for the opening exercise of Cope Thunder Philippines 26-1. This exercise represents far more than flight operations or tactical proficiency. Cope Thunder is a symbol of enduring partnership.
With the main flying happening over Basa Air Base in Pampanga Province, north of Manila. The headline aircraft were easy to get excited about. The Philippine Air Force flew its FA-50PH fighters, capable of Mach 1.5. The United States brought something far heavier, the F-22 Raptor, America's premier stealth air superiority jet. More than 90 airmen from the Hawaii-based 199th Air Expeditionary Squadron deployed for the drill, flying over 30 sorties during the 2-week exercise. For Hawaii's Air National Guard, this was personal. As Philip Mallory, commander of the Hawaii Air National Guard, put it during the opening ceremony, "We just celebrated 25 years as state partners with the Philippines and certainly look forward to the next 25 and beyond." This is the 3rd time in the last 4 years that Hawaii-based F-22 Raptors have been to the Philippines.
We just celebrated 25 years as state partners with the Philippines and certainly look forward to the next 25 and beyond. This year, we are proud to bring our 4 F-22 Raptors and about 90 airmen to train alongside our Philippine Air Force counterpart.
2 days into the exercise, on April 8, something visually striking happened. An F-22 Raptor flew in formation with a Philippine FA-50PH over Basa Air Base. America's most advanced stealth fighter, flying wing-to-wing with a smaller, lighter Filipino jet. It made for a powerful photograph. But the more important story wasn't in the sky. It was on the ground, where Army soldiers were quietly solving a much harder problem. On April 9, 2026, soldiers from the 25th Infantry Division's 524, the Division Sustainment Support Battalion, went to work at Basa Air Base. Their mission had nothing to do with flying. It had everything to do with keeping other people's planes in the air. They built what the Army calls a forward arming and refueling point. In plain language, a temporary gas station for fighter jets built from nothing on a runway in a matter of hours. Here is exactly what they did. According to the U.S. Army's own after-action account, they set up a temporary fuel distribution network capable of receiving, storing, and delivering bulk fuel. They positioned 4 fuel trucks at the airfield, called HEMTTs, fitted with refueling systems known as HTARs. They had thousands of gallons of Jet A-1 fuel on hand, supplied entirely through U.S. military logistics, not bought from the local economy. They refueled 4 F-22 Raptors from the 199th Fighter Squadron directly on the airfield, coordinating closely with the Philippine Air Force on safety and ground procedures. This was not a one-off improvisation. It was a deliberate demonstration of a capability called Army Support to Other Services, or ASOS, which lets Army logisticians supply fuel and other essentials to the entire joint force, not just their own troops. And here is the detail that should make every Pacific watcher sit up. Lieutenant Colonel Karen Dillard, the support operations officer for the 25th Infantry Division Sustainment Brigade, said plainly, "In the Indo-Pacific, distance shapes everything." Demonstrating this capability shows how the Army enables the Joint Force to operate in austere locations across the region. This is the first time we've conducted this type of fuel distribution operation in the Philippines. The first time, not the 10th. Not a routine repeat. The first time the U.S. Army has ever run this kind of fuel operation on Philippine soil. That single fact turns a quiet logistics drill into a marker in the timeline of America's Pacific strategy. The Army even named the soldiers who did the actual work, a level of detail that is easy to miss but worth pausing on. Sergeant Baruch Flomo, a petroleum supply non-commissioned officer with the 524th Division Sustainment Support Battalion, inspected fuel lines while refueling an F-22 Raptor on the flight line. PFC Hayden Duncan, a petroleum supply specialist with the same battalion, was photographed carrying out the refueling itself. These were not generic figures in a press release. They were specific soldiers doing a specific job on a specific day at a specific airfield in Pampanga Province. Lieutenant Colonel Curtis Yoshimoto, commander of the 199th Air Expeditionary Squadron, summed up why it mattered to the people actually flying the jets. Agile operations are essential to projecting air power throughout the Indo-Pacific. What our teams accomplished at Basa Air Base demonstrates a capability to rapidly refuel aircraft from an austere location. Reliable and rapid fuel distribution throughout the Indo-Pacific increases our logistical resilience and flexibility throughout the region. One detail deserves an honest mention, since a realist outlet does not pretend a story is fresher than it is. The U.S. Army's own report on this demonstration was written by Captain Eric James Estrada and datelined from Fort Magsaysay, Philippines, but it was not posted on the Army's official website until June 18, 2026. Roughly 2.5 months after the demonstration took place on April 9. That kind of delay is common in military public affairs, where field reports often move slowly through review before release. But it means the world is only now learning the full details of a capability the U.S. Army quietly tested back in April. To understand why a few fuel trucks matter so much, you need to understand the single biggest problem facing American power in Asia. Strategists have a name for it: the tyranny of distance. Picture the map. Hawaii sits roughly 5,000 miles from the Philippines. Guam, America's main forward hub, is closer, but still surrounded by open ocean for thousands of miles in every direction. Compare that to Europe, where NATO allies sit close together and share dozens of airfields within a short flight of any front line. The Pacific offers no such luxury. It is the largest ocean on Earth, dotted with island chains, and every mile of water has to be crossed by ship or by air. Napoleon once said an army marches on its stomach. In the Pacific, the saying needs an update. An air force flies on its fuel. Modern fighter jets burn enormous amounts of it. An F-22 sitting on a runway with empty tanks is not a threat to anyone. It is a target. The U.S. Army's own statement on the Basa exercise captured this truth in one sentence. Behind every sortie, patrol, or effort is a requirement that quietly underscores every movement. Fuel. This is why logistics, not glamour, decides wars. Tanks need diesel. Ships need bunker fuel. Jets need Jet A1. Whoever can move that fuel fastest across the widest stretch of ocean to the most unexpected locations holds a real advantage when the shooting starts. The Philippines, sitting along the western edge of the Pacific, has suddenly become a critical piece of that puzzle. None of this happens in a vacuum. For more than a decade, China has built one of the largest missile arsenals on Earth with the specific goal of putting American bases at risk. Analysts at the RAND Corporation describe it bluntly: Beijing is investing in ballistic and cruise missiles built to strike U.S. and allied airfields across the Pacific. For decades, America's Pacific strategy rested on a small number of large, heavily built bases like Kadena in Okinawa and Andersen on Guam. These bases hold billions of dollars of aircraft and infrastructure. But that concentration is exactly what makes them dangerous to depend on. Pack all your air power into a handful of giant bases. And you have also packed all your eggs into a handful of baskets that an enemy can find on a map and target with missiles. Researchers at the Stimson Center have warned that if a conflict over Taiwan broke out, Chinese missile strikes could leave American air power badly disrupted right at the moment it is needed most, possibly for weeks. Their warning is stark. If Beijing's planners believe they have a window of over a month where U.S. air power is largely sidelined, the temptation to act fast and present the world with a done deal becomes very hard to deter. That is the nightmare scenario the U.S. military is trying to design its way around. Geography explains why this exercise happened in the Philippines and not somewhere else. Northern Luzon sits close to the Bashi Channel and the Luzon Strait, the narrow stretch of water separating the Philippines from Taiwan. Control of that strait, or even just the ability to operate near it, shapes how any Taiwan contingency would unfold. The Philippines also borders the South China Sea, where Chinese and Philippine vessels have repeatedly clashed over contested waters. Under President Ferdinand Marcos Jr., defense cooperation between Washington and Manila has expanded steadily. Cope Thunder itself is part of that story. It returned to Philippine soil in 2023 after decades away, expanded its footprint across multiple bases in 2025, and in 2026 delivered its biggest demonstration yet of joint sustainment capability. Each year, the exercise has added a new layer of seriousness, moving from basic flight training toward the kind of full-spectrum, multi-domain rehearsal a real conflict would actually demand. That trajectory matters more than any single headline. A geography that was once seen mainly as a fishing ground and a tourist destination is now treated by American war planners as a forward staging area, a fuel point, and a potential launch pad. The Philippines did not move. The map around it did. No honest analysis stops at the victory lap. Even as the Army celebrated this milestone, some defense analysts have raised hard questions about whether the F-22 itself is the right tool for this fight. The Raptor entered service in 2005. Its stealth design, while still capable, has not kept pace with newer Chinese fighters like the J-20, which reportedly carries a significantly longer range. In a theater defined by vast distances, range matters as much as stealth, and the F-22 was never built with the Pacific scale in mind. That critique does not erase the value of what happened at Basa Air Base. It actually reinforces it. If the aircraft flying these missions face real limitations, then the ability to refuel and redeploy them quickly from unexpected locations becomes even more important, not less. Logistics cannot fix every weakness in a weapons platform, but it can determine whether that platform is even in the fight when it is needed. History remembers battles. It remembers pilots, dogfights, and the roar of jets breaking the sound barrier. It rarely remembers the soldier who set up a fuel line in the dark, checked the safety inspections, and made sure a Raptor had enough gas to fly its next sortie. But ask any general which one matters more. And the honest answer is always logistics. At Basa Air Base, the United States Army was not just practicing how to fill a fuel tank. It was rehearsing how to keep American and Philippine air power alive across one of the most contested, most distant battle spaces on the planet. 4 trucks, a few thousand gallons of Jet A-1, and a small team of soldiers from the 25th Infantry Division quietly demonstrated something far bigger than the exercise itself: that the United States is building the capability to fight a dispersed, mobile war across the Pacific, not just a concentrated one from a handful of giant bases. In the Indo-Pacific, fuel is not just a resource. It is the foundation everything else stands on. And on April 9th, 2026, on a runway in Pampanga, America made sure that Foundation can survive what comes next. The world only learned about it more than 2 months later. The runway found out the moment it happened.